Hello, everyone. Just a friendly reminder that you can watch the podcast live and interact with us and other chatters on twitch.tv/convictedtoast. Enjoy the podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the next episode of the Mixed Media Podcast with Mr. Rager and Mr. Toast. This is the fourth episode. We're going to be covering episodes 14 through 37 of Attack on Titan, which is pretty much the second half of Season 1 and all of Season 2. Just so you guys know, this podcast will contain spoilers up through Season 2. We won't spoil anything past that in case you're watching along with us. And before we get started, I just wanted to say I'm the Colossal Titan, and he's the Armored Titan.
You sure you want to do this right now?
I'm not doing it right now.
All right.
I'm just saying.
Anyway, it's good to be back in it again, talking about more Attack on Titan.
Yeah, this episode, for context, was originally just going to be the second half of Season 1, and we got through the second half of Season 1, and I pulled his teeth to watch the first episode of Season 2, and then it turned into the entirety of Season 2.
Yep.
So we're going to just do a bigger episode here. We won't go as in-depth on every episode just because we're covering 24 episodes now instead of just 13. So we're going to get started, and we're going to go in order. We're going to try not to jump around. Some things we may mention, but we're going to get started with right where we left off, which is I'm going to cover episode 14 and 15 together first, which is Still Can't Look Him in the Eye and the Eve of the Counterattack Part 1. These episodes cover Eren's military tribunal, and when Eren and the scouts move to the abandoned castle, and Sunny and Bean are captured. So, getting into this, before this point, we had only seen one Titan shifter, and we haven't seen a second one yet.
Yeah.
But when we're starting into episode 14 and 15, the military tribunal especially, I think that really kind of sets a stage for the fear that the government has on Eren, more specifically the MPs.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, basically, in during the tribunal, you have the scout regiment who wants to take Eren and use his power for the benefit of humanity, and you have the military police who wants to just take Eren and kill him immediately.
Right, which is a huge thing that we get into, and even like past 14 and 15, like it is something that has continually kept coming up.
Yeah. And like I said, they have Sunny and Bean captured, and then we get into episode 16, which has one of my favorite moments from Erwin in the series, when Sunny and Bean are being killed, and Keegan can speak to this. I quoted that line several times as we're
We're at
watching
least at 20 times that you said that line. Probably more.
Yeah, the line I'm referring to is when Erwin kind of grabs Eren's shoulders right after Sunny and Bean are murdered, and he says, "What do you think happened here? Who do you think the enemy is?" And I absolutely fucking love that line.
Yeah, and it really, when you first hear it, you kind of think, what could he mean by that? And as we progress further and further into this season, you get more and more like, okay, I see what he meant by that question. I understand what he's trying to say.
And not to jump ahead too much.
Yeah.
But do you think he knew who he was talking about? Do you think he had an idea in mind of who the enemy was, and that's why he was trying to warn Eren?
It's a really good question, because I do think Erwin has a fair amount of like intuition with that sort of thing. Plus, he has, you know, all of his scouts that kind of work as spies for him in that regard. It's a good question. I think he had like a vague idea, maybe, but I don't think he had a pinpoint accurate idea.
So do you think he like suspected that it was someone in the scout regiment?
I think so. Yeah.
And following that up almost immediately is the first appearance of the female Titan,
Yeah.
which Armin calls out before anybody else realize, like, even thinks about it. He's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a human in Titan form." So, what are your thoughts on the first appearance of the female Titan?
So at first, I kind of was going purely based off of like, listening to what Armin is saying in this situation, because Armin is, to say the least, he's like kind of the brains of the 104th,
Mhm.
So he has like he is doing a lot of the critical thinking and relaying his thoughts to everybody. So kind of listening to what Armin is saying in that situation is it puts a lot of like insight onto the whole situation, um, and leads you to kind of suspect and think about it on your own a lot more.
Yeah, I agree. It's really cool. I really like her first appearance, and I kind of like the plan that Erwin kind of lays out. Like he has this hunch that this Titan is going to appear. He's not sure what it's going to look like, but he's almost positive that it's going to appear
Yeah,
as they leave. And his plan is just absolutely genius. The only thing that was wrong with it, which I'm going to skip ahead a couple episodes here, to episode 20 entitled Erwin Smith, where they capture her, but he didn't account for the one thing that was a folly in the plan, which was her ability to lure other Titans to her.
right. Which is, I believe she's the only Titan that we see that can do that, or am I wrong?
At this point, it's the only one
Yeah,
because we will get into it, but you have seen a couple others do it,
right.
just not in that way.
Yeah, because hers was
Um,
purely through screaming.
yeah, and she they ended up beating her, and she gets away. Um, and when they start to moving in towards a little bit later in season one, I'm gonna try and keep season one just a little bit short because I feel like we're gonna have a lot to talk about when we get into season two for sure.
Agreed.
Um, moving in after that fight is lost, we lose so many people
Oh yes,
during
and
that
it
fight.
is it is tragic, really.
Yeah, it's one right after the other. We lose Petra. I mean, it is a devastating fight just to get Eren back
Yeah,
from the female Titan. And oh my god, it is just it's crazy. And Erevan's like, "Yep, I'm gonna be court-martialed for this," and they're gonna take Eren.
yeah.
Like he knows that his mission was a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the plan that he enacts to kind of combat this. It's thinking about it morally, it's really messed up,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's a plan that would you consider a war crime?
Um. Probably. Yeah. Yeah. I would.
You'd yeah, I mean, it's very messed up. I mean,
It
but it's the only
involves
thing.
a
Go ahead.
lot of civilians. So.
Yeah, it real quick, your mic is like giving a weird kind of like feedback.
Oh. Are
Like
you
it's
like you're hearing it or
yeah. Wait,
okay?
it just stopped.
Is it
Never mind.
is it a volume thing? You think? I don't know.
No, it was like making a buzzing noise. That
Oh,
was weird.
hopefully it
Um,
wasn't picking it up on OBS, but okay.
yeah, it's still doing it, but it's like very, very faint now.
Okay.
It's odd. Sorry. Um, yeah, and so his plan basically involves them luring Ani to this underground tunnel, and if that fails, she will turn into a Titan, and Eren will have to fight her in the inner wall in front of everyone, and they will see that Eren is a good guy, that he's a hope for humanity, and they will understand, I guess, more about the power of the Titan shifters.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a large thing of them trying to um convince everybody that Aaron is, he's for humanity. He's not a Titan that's, just gonna start eating people or have ulterior motives against against humanity.
Exactly, because bringing back up the tribunal, he took a swing at Mikasa one of the times that he transformed, and I still hold it. I think we talked about it a little bit on the last episode that I believe that he did that because of how bad she pissed him off
Right.
before he transformed.
Because she kept being in this position of almost desperation, I think, for lack of a better word, where she wanted to protect him at all costs, but in Aaron's eyes, seeing that as, her looking down on him in a way.
Yeah, yeah, he felt like, I don't know, that she was kind of babying him in a way. But the fight between Eren and the female Titan in the city is awesome. It is a fantastic way to end season one. Um, the whole battle is so cool, and like I said, Erwin's plan works, but I mean, at what cost does his plan work? When we see,
Right. It's a large part of it too, where in that fight we do get to see like how I mean, to start with, Aaron's like wanting to avoid this entirely. Like he knows he has to, but he doesn't want to, and it takes Armin convincing him that this is what he has to do. It takes a sacrifice to, to get this done. And in the actual fight that we get to see just how well he can actually perform against her, and even gets her in a position where she tries to run away from him.
yeah, yeah, and towards the end of the fight, when Eren hesitates and she uses the harden ability, I'm gonna ask you this because we've seen all of season two and we'll get into it. You don't see her again
No, we saw her, I think, in the very beginning of season two,
when they're
and
taking away her
yeah,
crystallized body.
and that's
Yeah.
all we get.
So what do you think? What do you think happened to her?
I think she's probably being held underground like normal. I don't think they've gotten her out of the crystal,
You
because
think she's still crystallized?
yeah, I think it's going to be something that they kind of hold on to, where they don't know how to get her out, but she can't be set free. I mean, they need information.
Exactly. And the final reveal of season one, the big like teaser in the after credits scene when the piece of the wall falls off and you see the Titan.
Yep. Just standing, it happens so fast. You watch the part of the wall crumble, you see the face, and it cuts.
What did you what did you think?
um Honestly, so up until this point, all we keep getting is more and more questions, more questions, more questions. Of course, those get answered in season two, but seeing this part of the wall fall off, seeing a Titan standing inside the wall, all you're left to do is just have your jaw drop pretty much and be like, what does that mean?
Yeah, and that is one of the questions that does not get answered in season two at all.
Yeah, they don't even
And
acknowledge it. Like they're
and
like, they briefly cover it. They're like, throw a tarp over that bitch. We'll worry about it later.
but there's too much going on. I
Yeah.
mean, season two opens with Hanji trying to get answers out of Pastor Nick, and
Mm-hmm.
he is not talking at all. He would rather die than talk about why there's a Titan in the wall,
Right.
which is, oh, it just makes you think about what that means. Um, so we're now officially in season two.
Yep.
I do think we should go episode by episode on season two.
Okay, because there is a lot that happens in season two.
Yeah, there is a lot to cover in season two. So we open with episode one, promptly titled The Beast Titan. And we basically, I love the way a lot of this season is told because it takes place within about 2 days.
Yeah.
And you just see all of these like jumps in time. Like something's happening and it's like 2 hours earlier, and you get to see how they got to that point.
Yep.
Something else happens 8 hours earlier, and you get to see how they're in that situation. So basically, while Eren is fighting the female Titan, a bunch of Titans start appearing and in a sealed district of the wall. There's no known hole, and as we'll come to find out as we watch season 2, we'll get into it more when they realize there is no hole.
Yeah.
They're just Titans in there.
Right. And it's and also does a lot this season with maintaining a bunch of different characters simultaneously, going into like it's jumping between like 3 different stories at one point, I'm pretty sure, maybe even a 4th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's jumping around a lot.
It is doing it masterfully. Like there is no, like, you don't lose any details. It keeps going, keeps chugging along, but you do not get lost.
Yeah, you have one of the commanders and the scout regiment. God, I can't remember his name, but he's watching over this the scouts in case they're Titan shifters. Ironically, he's like, yeah, I have no evidence to believe that any of them are Titan shifters, and it turns out 3 of them are, as we'll get into.
Yep.
3 of them in there are Titan shifters, so he decides to help with the attack, and he's doing a pretty damn good job until he sees the monkey.
The big old beast.
There are a couple things this season that Keegan's reaction when we were watching it were absolutely priceless. The first scene of the Beast Titan is definitely one of them. We're watching it, and it's late. The night that we watched it, we watched like, I don't know, 11 episodes or something like that. And we got raid. Are we getting raided?
Are we getting raided?
Did you have that notification off?
I did not. No, there it is.
Oh, there
it is.
Raid. Hey, everybody, welcome.
Well, raid parties from Swifty. All right, appreciate that. Thanks, guys.
We're talking about some Attack on Titan stuff right now.
Yeah, we are going over spoilers, so keep that in mind if you're going to continue watching.
Yes. So with the Beast Titan, its first appearance is so jarring.
Yes.
Because the dude's like terrified. He's like, man, that thing looks weird. And at first, I know in my first viewing, and I'm going to assume yours too, you're like, that's a weird looking abnormal.
Yeah.
Like, why's that one got hair? And it starts biting. One of the Titans starts biting him. He just comes up, grabs its head, and he's like, didn't I tell you to knock that off? And just squeezes the Titan's head. And you're like, it's speaking.
Yeah.
Like, it is. Oh my God.
So you told me that when you witnessed it, you actually screamed. And Mike can attest that when we watched it, I heard it, and I just leaned into my microphone. I went, excuse me?
Yeah, I screamed. The first time I watched it, I was like, what the fuck? And I love when he's like questioning him. The Beast Titan is so calm. He has him and he's like, what is this thing you're using to get around on? I'm certain we speak the same language here. Oh, I'm guessing you're too terrified to answer me.
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and take it. And he's like walking away, and the dude like stupidly, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill it," and he's like screaming, and the beast just kind of turns, and he's like, "You can kill him now." And the other Titans jump on him, and you're like, "Oh my God, he can control him with his voice."
Right. It's especially crazy because like all the Titans in that moment were just kind of like standing still. Even before you see the beast, the Titans just aren't moving anymore. And then he shows up, gets grabbed, and like he just goes, I told you not yet, you know?
Yeah, I love, dude, and he like squeezes it and its eye pops out, and you're like, oh my God. I'm gonna let you talk about the next episode.
Okay, which one is that?
It's called I'm Home.
Ah, that's right. That's the one like following Sasha, correct?
Yeah, when Sasha gets back to her village.
Okay. So it starts off with the flashback, doesn't it? With her in the forest with her father 5 years before everything.
Yes.
And she's pretty much telling her about how the world's changing since the wall was broken and more people had to move in to the area. And she, she's very hesitant, doesn't want to adapt to this change. And then we get our flash forward to her riding back to her hometown village to, warn everybody about the Titan threat coming. she, gets into the village, jumps over this over the gate or over the fence bridge. It's a bridge. It's drawbridge. And then we just jump cut to this little girl sitting in her house, and it seems inconspicuous to start with, but then the camera pans out, and you see this relatively small Titan, in comparison to all other Titans. It's still pretty big. Is in the house just chewing on this girl's mother's leg. The mother is still alive, just sitting there enduring this. And it's one of the most disturbing scenes from the show, I think, that we've seen, just because it's literally just a Titan sitting there munching on this living woman's leg, and it's insane to me just sitting there watching that.
Yeah.
But it's wild. But it goes on from there. Sasha grabs the little girl's hand because there's nothing she can do for the mother at this point. She's pretty much done in, and the Titan didn't even really care that she was there because the Titan got its meal. But as soon as they start running, he's like, okay, I'm gonna follow now. So Sasha grabs this bow and arrow. They run for the drawbridge, jump over. The Titan's still coming after him. Sasha's in this moment where she's like, I have to at least save this little girl. She tells her to keep running and find somebody that's gonna protect her, pretty much. And she goes to face this Titan so she can, give this little girl a head start. And I do want to deviate from what we end up seeing and just talk about it because Mike brought it up to me the day after we watched it.
Oh, the fun fact.
Yes. So in this scene, we pretty much, we see, Sasha aiming to take out this Titan's eyes, which she successfully hits one. And then she thinks, if I miss this shot, it's over. So she, instead of using the bow, runs at it and stabs in the eye with the other arrow, and manages to, slip away from the Titan due to the blood that's all over it now. Initially, the original idea was to have her die in that moment in the manga, but his name's Isayama, correct? The creator? Yeah, Isayama originally wanted her to die there, but his editor read it, sobbed, and asked him to change it.
Yeah, his editor was like, that episode's already too emotional, please. Or that chapter's already too emotional, please.
Right. But then it leads into, this is a moment that I actually teared up a little bit. So, she starts running away from the Titan, and she sees people from the village, and she sees her dad there, with the little girl that, she just helped save. And they have an extra horse. Sasha gets on, and they're riding away. And Sasha's father looks at her, and says, "You took out that Titan by yourself. Sasha, you're everything I hoped for." And I teared up at that line. So
yeah, I got chills. I just got chills down my back thinking about it. Yeah, it's so good. So good. That's such a great episode. And a lot of people would think like having an episode like that right after one like the Beast Titan, they'd kind of be like, oh man, that's filler or whatever. And it just works so well in the grand scheme of the story. Like, even with having that episode right in the middle of all this stuff happening, it just works so well
right.
to see.
Especially because we haven't really gotten that much time with Sasha. I mean, she's been like in parts of other groups, but this is an episode where she finally gets to, have her own story.
Yeah, it's great.
And then we lead into the second half of the episode following Connie, correct?
Yes. And that leads into 3. This is where Connie sees the Titan that says "Welcome home."
Yeah, they get into Connie's village, and they're looking around. It's been decimated, but there's no signs of blood. There's no signs of like any Titans that are like came into the area or anything. It just looks destroyed. And then Connie thinks, oh, okay, I need to check home. Rides his horse over there, and there's just this Titan that's on its back with its head upside down, kind of looking horizontally. And he's just staring at it. It's not able to move because its limbs are so small. And as he's about to, he's like, it kind of reminds me of my mom. and he gets on the horse. I'm pretty sure he talks to John, right? That's who he's talking to, or
Yeah, no, it's
is it
Reiner.
Reiner? It's Reiner. That's right. And then Reiner's there, and he's like, "Hey, we should keep moving." And then he's like, "I swear it's just like," and he gets cut off. But
Yeah,
he's thinking it's just like my mom. So they ride off, and then this Titan says, "Welcome home."
welcome home. Yep. Um, I'm gonna move into episode 4 when the scouts are unarmed and overwhelmed by the Titan assault on the castle. The only hope for the scouts may lie in a promise and a secret. What's really interesting, and I didn't say anything, I should have said this to you before the podcast. Episode 4 is called Soldier, and episode 6 is called Warrior.
Ooh.
Yeah,
And
really,
there's
really
a
cool.
lot of reflection that comes from that now. So
Yeah. Soldier pretty much, the scouts are in this castle. Reiner seems to be having some sort of mental crisis, I would call it, and Bertolt's kind of there, and he's like, you're a warrior, and Reiner's like, oh, okay, and he like, he throws himself to save Connie, and hey Trent, welcome to the podcast. Um, and as we're getting into it, we're like, I don't know what's going on between those two. We'll get into it in a couple episodes with
yep.
my favorite episode of the series. I'll be able to talk about that a little bit more. But we get to see the third, well, counting the beast, the fourth Titan shifter
Yeah.
in Ymir's jaw,
Yep.
which Keegan kind of called that it was going to happen as soon as she started running off with the knife and cut her hand.
And then you start to see the lightning come up, which
Yeah.
signifies instantly this is a Titan.
Which leads us to Historia, which is a really interesting episode because out of nowhere, these two side characters that you don't really know a lot about suddenly become very, very important, and we're not sure why yet.
Yeah, and they've been there the entire time pretty much, but this is the first time that they've really had any like exaggerated importance to the story so far.
Yes. Um, Utgard Castle comes crumbling down as Ymir desperately battles the Titans. Now Krista must fulfill the promise they made long ago during winter training. I absolutely love the flashback to them when they're training and Ymir using her power to save one of the fellow scouts. I love that.
Yep.
Um, I love the relationship between her and Krista. It's very interesting. Pretty sure Isayama confirmed it is a love, not just like a friendship thing between the two of them.
Yeah.
That there is some deep connection that they have, and I love when Krista's like, "I'm going to fulfill my promise to Ymir. My name is Historia. That
Right.
is my real name."
And so to lead in a little bit further, but not really go like in depth on anything per se, but I do want to mention how much it seems that Ymir she's such a conflicted character. Like we don't really know her motivation, and it seems like she doesn't even know yet.
Yeah, it's yeah, we don't know. She definitely, like, it seems like she has these deep feelings for Krista and wants to protect her no matter what. And as we'll see when we get into later on in the season, like she's really willing to do about anything to make sure Krista survives.
Right.
And that leads into my favorite episode of the series, Warrior, season 2, episode 6. One of my favorite episodes out of any anime ever. I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Um, so we open, and the battle's over. The scouts arrive. They help save the day. They're like, Ymir's a Titan shifter, and they're like, okay. And they're like, she helped us, and they're like, okay, we'll protect her. She's gravely injured. They carry her up to the wall, and they're talking. And Bertolt and Reiner are very, very distant. They're like,
They're
okay,
standing away from everybody.
yeah, they're kind of talking to them, like talking to each other. They're very, very outside of the main group. And the best anime reveal of all time. Uh, Bertolt and Reiner are like, Eren, we need to talk to you for a second. And there's all these other conversations going on. Hanji's talking to somebody. It's not even the main focus of the shot. You just read the subtitles, and it's I'm the Colossal Titan, or sorry, I'm the Armored Titan, and Bertolt is the Colossal Titan.
Yep.
And well, the first line before that is 5 years ago we started our mission to
Wipe out
wipe out
humanity.
humanity. Yeah, and they're like, Eren, we need you to come with us. And then we get this fucking awesome flashback to Armin like speculating. Well, Armin, Erwin, Hanji, and Levi kind of speculating that it is Bertolt
Yeah,
and Reiner because
because
they showed
the
up with Ani.
yeah, and they mentioned that they all came from the same area.
Yeah, the same area, which is something that they couldn't verify. There are no records for any of the three of them. They all came in together, and we cut back, and Mikasa's kind of a little bit closer, and they're like, Aaron's like, "Oh, you guys, like, come on, like that's really funny," and Bertolt's just staring at him.
Yeah, he like he's sweating. He's like, I can't believe he's deciding to do this right now.
Yeah,
this is when he's going for it. But we did talk about it a little bit after the episode. We were talking about how like if there was ever a time for him to try and pull this, it's now, especially because Levi is currently injured
yeah,
after trying to take down the female Titan in the forest. Um, and pretty much there's not that many people on the wall. This is like the ideal moment for him to try this now rather than waiting for a better opportunity.
and both of the Titan shifters that they want are there as well. The Jaw and Aaron are both there.
Yeah.
Um, so we get a little bit of more dialogue, and then Mikasa attacks them. She flies off the wall. Aaron and Bertolt kind of look at each other, and they both start shifting. And it is this scene is so awesome. The music, everything. They both shift. Everyone is just in complete and utter disbelief. Um, Reiner grabs Aaron, and you see just this giant arm of the colossal titan reach down and scoop up Ymir, and they jump off. Reiner and Aaron jump off the wall, and in midair, Aaron just lets loose and shifts, and the episode ends.
Yeah. And
It's
before we
awesome.
go any further, there are three small details I want to bring up. So the first episode that we get to see Eren actually kill a Titan, not as a Titan.
Yeah,
It's his first confirmed kill as a soldier. Um, and then another small detail is Mikasa fucked them up.
yeah, she did.
Just
She
just
did.
not enough.
Yeah, she did. And I think it's just, how long they were together. It's even what they are. I mean, they were friends. They went through training together. They've been together this whole time, and she's being told like she never really cared for Ani, so it wasn't hard for her to be able to go after her, but Reiner and Bertolt, especially Reiner, was a stand-up guy.
Yeah, especially because like even when they were still in training, like Reiner and Bertolt went out of their way to help Eren.
Exactly. Yeah, they were, and we'll get into it when we get to the forest here in a couple
Yeah,
episodes. But Reiner really like it seems like he has this like dissociative identity disorder because of the two lives that he's lived, and he has PTSD from what he's done,
yeah,
and he's trying to cope with that
yeah.
by pretending he is this soldier instead of a warrior.
Yeah. I also want to bring up the moment because we watched a video after the reveal where it's when they're in training and Eren and Reiner both target Annie because she's working or not like practicing or anything,
Yeah.
and Ani has Eren pinned to the ground and says um something along the lines of like I have better things to do than playing soldier.
Yep.
That's the
There,
standout. And then after that, as they're walking away, Reiner says, maybe you don't have what it takes to be a warrior.
yeah, there is so much excellent foreshadowing in this series for that reveal in that episode. Um, Tom says my favorite part was how hard it was on Reiner throughout the series. He was like two personalities from living two lives. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm sure we'll get to see more of that as we go through, season 3 and further on. We'll get to see more about that. But in the forest, which we're getting to, we really start to see that and like the look on Bertolt's face when Reiner is kind of talking about we need to get back there. Like we could clear it out, and we could stop the Titan attack. And Bertolt's just like, Reiner, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh yeah.
And even Aaron's like, what are you saying? And Reiner's like, Aaron, did I say something that pissed you off?
Yeah, and it's even crazier because Aaron is like actively listening to him as he's going off on like this soldier speak tyrant, and Aaron's like, "You have the audacity to start talking like that after everything that you've done."
Yeah, he thinks he's fucking with him, but he's not. Like he genuinely just like disassociates from what he's doing.
Yeah,
Um, so episode 7, close combat. We get the reveal of the heat power that the Colossal Titan has when they go to attack them.
yeah. Which
And
we really get to see that him being that size, he is slow as hell.
yeah, it takes a lot to move something, which makes sense in terms of physics.
Yeah.
Like moving something that large.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love how Aaron almost beats. Well, I think that's in Hunters, like at the very beginning of Hunters, or maybe it's at the tail end of this one. I can't remember.
I
But
think
when Aaron,
it's at the tail end of this, if I'm not mistaken.
okay, yes, it is. When Aaron is about to beat Reiner, like he has him dead to rights. He has him on the ground. He's beating the shit out of him, and then Bertolt like uh unshifts, and the Colossal like loses its grip with its rib cage and falls off
Yep.
the wall right on top of them.
Yeah, I also want to mention just how much I love the actual fight that we get between the two,
Oh my
because
god, yes.
Reiner has the armor that you can't get through that, but Aaron has these holds that he learned from Ani that can crush the armor and give them weak spots.
That's the one thing. I watched this great video, and I can't get into too much of the video because it does talk about later stuff, but it talks about how unfair almost every Titan fight in the series is because they all have something specific
Right.
that makes them stronger than another one. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they all have something
They all have
up
their
their sleeve.
each pro and con. Like the fact that the Colossal is as big as it is, it's slow as hell, but then it has its steam ability.
Yes, yes, and it's just sheer mass.
Yeah.
Um, so the scouts, after this point, they're recuperating. They're like, "Well, man, this is really bad." Um, and Hannes shows up, and he's like, "We need to go get him." Like it's really sweet, and we'll get more into Hannes in the
Yeah.
finale. But he's like, "I want to see you kids playing in the street again." And like I did when 5 years ago, he was like, "I always loved you kids and seeing you out there," and it's just,
Right.
God, that hurts so
Yeah.
bad.
I also do want to bring up, because of all the steam that comes off of the Colossal Titan, we get to see Hanji actually shield Armin from all the steam.
Yeah.
But then we go up and we see just how many people are injured after this, and we have Mikasa and Armin, who are just barely staying in there, both battered and burnt pretty much. And Hannes just shows up and he's like, we got our rations, not good, not bad, always just what it is.
Yep. Yep. And I love I love the shot of them like all eating together, like getting ready. And then Erwin appears and then at the beginning of the next one. And he's like, "We're gonna go get him. We're gonna go get him now. I don't care how many people die. I don't care what we have to throw away. We're getting him now."
And
And
it is,
go ahead.
oh, it's so good. It is
Oh yeah.
just phenomenal. The entire setup for it pays off so well.
And then we get our first shot of them in the forest where they took Eren. They're in the forest. They're trying to talk to him, and I can't remember if it's in episode 9 or 10, because there's a lot of scenes in the forest with the four of them. But it's revealed that Ymir was a Titan for 60 years.
Right, which is mind-boggling. That's
And
insane.
she ate one of Reiner, Ani, and Bertolt's comrades. And
It was
able to
Marcel,
shift.
correct? That was the name?
Yes. Yes. And was able to shift back into a human because of that, because he had Titan abilities. And we don't really, at this point, understand how that works. That's just it. The information given to us at this point is that happened, that she got the jaw from Marcel. And Bertolt's kind of like, hey, you were a Titan. You couldn't really like think about what you're doing. No hard feelings. Like, we understand. Help us get Historia, or help us get Eren out of here. And Ymir's like, I'm not leaving with you unless we take Historia with
Right.
us. And Reiner and Bertolt are kind of like, well, she is kind of important, so it would be kind of good to have her with us.
Right.
Because of because she's the daughter of someone we will get to learn in season 3, but she's very, very important. They know that.
Plus, we have every single moment of Reiner saying, I'm going to marry her.
Yeah. Yeah. Him and Ymir both have a crush on her.
Yep.
The whole identity crisis thing, I know we've touched on it a little bit when talking about season 2 already, but the scenes with Reiner just are so good, and they actually kind of make me sympathetic towards him despite what he did.
Right.
Because even at this point in the series, if you think about it logically, and they're the same age as Eren, he had to have been just a kid.
Yeah.
And Bertolt had to be just a kid.
Yeah, they would have only been like maybe 10.
So going
that.
and doing something like this when you're that young, that's gonna fuck you up for life.
And I think like the kind of split personality thing, it isn't just for Reiner. Reiner, we do see he experiences it the most, even going back into talking like he's a soldier still. But I think, as I mentioned before, Ymir has this thing kind of going on too, where we see the connection that she has with Krista, or Historia, whichever you prefer. But like at the same point, it seems like everything that she's choosing to do, regardless of if it's good for her, is all for Historia.
Yeah, and
it seems like it's something that splits her character, because she wants what's good for Historia, but she also has this thing of life inside the walls is not a life that she deserves, Historia deserves specifically.
Yeah. Let's talk about Erwin's determination.
Oh yes.
When he's going in these like 3 or 4 episodes, Reiner and Bertolt like look over and they're like, the scouts are here, and they're like, the scouts are here, like
they
already?
came this far already for these two.
And Erwin's just riding up, and he's like, I don't care how many of you die, MP's over here, scouts over here, we're getting him back now.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
We also get the absolutely phenomenal scene of Erwin on the horse, and you can go ahead and say the line.
Oh, Shinzo Sasageo. Yeah.
Yep, as they all charge forward after it. But I do love everything that Erwin is doing there. It's kind of being put in the background because we have a lot of the character moments going on with Reiner and all of the scouts from the 104th up on Reiner as he's the armored titan.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I wanted to talk just a little bit more about the forest before we dive into 11 and 12, those 2 episodes. I just wanted to talk about the scene where they're going to leave without Historia, and Ymir like is weighing Bertolt down, and she's like fucking with his ODM gear. She's like, I could turn into the jaw. I'm faster than both of you. I know I won't win in a fight,
Yeah,
and I'm
she's like,
faster than
this
both of
is
you.
this is my environment because it's in this
Yep.
tall forest and the jaw is such a small titan.
Yep. Just jump across the trees. She's like, I'm gonna grab Aaron and get the hell out of here if we don't go get his story. And they're like, okay, so they're forced to backtrack and go and face the scouts, this is where the final two episodes start. Charge and Scream.
Yep.
Uh,
I do want to bring
yeah.
up when Ymir does turn into the jaw again, and she's like hanging onto this tree, and all the scouts see her. They, flock to her. Everybody's like, "What's going on? What's the situation?" And she doesn't say anything. But then Armin's like, "Why is she looking at everybody individually?"
Yep, she's looking for Historia. Yeah, I love that so much.
Yeah, it's great.
Um, and then we kind of get into the big battle. Everybody's fighting. And then Bertolt is hiding in a piece of armor on the armored titan, and he's got Aaron. And
Yeah, it's Reiner is holding like his hands over his throat, which is where
yeah,
Bertold is hiding.
and I love Erwin gets bit in this. We see he gets bit by Titan. He's being carried away, and he's like, "Don't worry about me. Just keep going." And
Yeah,
like
he's
his
screaming
arm is,
advance as
yeah,
this Titan has his
advance.
right arm lockjawed.
Yeah, he's literally fucking flying out of frame in this Titan's mouth. He's like, "Just keep going," and you're like, "Oh my god!" And then when he shows back up, one arm on there, and just you're just like, "Oh my god, this dude is a badass."
Yeah, I also want to bring up because Mikasa is the fastest scout that they have in this situation. Her going straight after Bertolt, and that's when Reiner puts the arms up and protects him, and you just see Mikasa staring through the gaps in his fingers, just this dead stare.
Yeah, and Bertolt is just absolutely petrified.
Yeah.
Even though he's the colossal titan, he is just like petrified. And I love that, like, when all the scouts are on top of the armored titan and they're like, we trained together, we lived together, we ate together. Did like none of that matter to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, uh, does our friendship like and everything? And Bertolt like reveals he's like, no, it meant everything to me. He's just like, he was like, none of that was fake. He was like, becoming a soldier was a ploy, but like my camaraderie with you guys, like that wasn't fake. And to me that's like, wow, like whatever they're doing, they have to have some reasoning to still believe it after,
Right.
to believe in whatever it is
And
at this point.
it leads into that line when they're all like, "Did none of it mean anything to you? Like, why would you do this?" And then he finally says, "You think somebody would choose to do this?" Which leads into even more mystery that we haven't gotten answers to just yet.
Yep.
But knowing that Bertolt and Reiner didn't actively choose to, kick the wall and charge the gate and let Titans in.
Yeah, there was something behind them, yeah. So we see Erwin come back. All this is happening. The armored titan is throwing shit at Aaron when he gets away. We don't know why yet. Why he's throwing titans at him, because they're like, I thought he wanted to save him. Ymir and Historia are riding away, and they kind of had this like heart to heart in a way. And Historia's like, I know what you're thinking, but like, how can you trust them? We get into the finale, Scream. So this episode starts where the last one leaves off, and we see the smiling titan that killed Aaron's mom, one that's got that big like shit-eating grin on its
Way back in
face.
episode 1.
Yep, great callback. 37 episodes later, we see this titan again, and Hannes is there, and Hannes is like, he recognizes it too, and he's like, I'm gonna get her this time.
Yep.
Like, I'm gonna go after her. And sadly, we lose Hannes. And I love the Aaron when he's on the ground and he's like laughing and crying at the same time, because he just like views himself as just this pathetic weakling because he was trying to turn into a Titan.
Yeah,
And
he's literally sitting there biting chunks out of his hand, pretty much.
yeah, and he can't turn, and he just feels absolutely useless. And then Mikasa pretty much tells him that like Eren has always been there for her because
Yeah,
he felt useless in protecting her. He has like this flashback to his mom, and he throws a punch at the Titan, even though he's in human form. He connects, and there's this flash of light, and all these other Titans just come out of nowhere and just start tearing it to pieces. And you're like, oh my god, Eren can control them too.
right. And just a quick thing before we go any further, the like kind of heart to heart moment that he has with Mikasa. My favorite part is after she says, and you put the scarf around my neck, thank you. He stands up and says, "I'll put it around you as many times as you want forever."
Yeah, god, that scene is, oh, I got chills thinking about it again. Jeez. Um, and Reiner and Bertolt are just kind of like in fear that Eren did that. He's not
Yeah,
even in Titan form. And the only other two people that we've seen control the Titans have both been in their forms. Eren did it without transforming.
mm-hmm.
So Eren then sends the Titans after Reiner Bertolt, and we get something shocking. I didn't get to really talk to you about it in the moment. Ymir turns her back on Historia and goes and saves Reiner and Bertolt from the
Right.
onslaught of Titans, which I don't know. Why do you think she did that
Right.
instead of going after?
That's one of the things I was mentioning when it seems like she has this split similar to Reiner where we don't really know what her motivations are. I mean, we know her big connection with Historia, but we don't know anything past like what is her goal with Reiner and Bertolt in this moment. So I'm
Yeah,
not exactly sure what our answers are. I mean, we do get a small moment with them before the episode actually ends, um, but it doesn't reveal too much.
yeah, and she kind of tells Historia like, oh, what did she say to her? Um, there, I can't remember what she says something to her in Titan form, and then she goes after, um,
She just says I'm sorry, and then
yeah.
goes off and does it. So that's pretty much all we have on that part.
So we get back to Trost, and Erevin's recovering from his injuries. After this, after they win the fight, refugees from Walrose are sent to an underground city in Walsina. As it's revealed, the military like knows that they're going to run out of food, so they declare Walrose Titan free 1 week after the outbreak.
Yeah.
Um, Erevin's recovering, and Eren kind of realizes during the same scene, he kind of says, when he's with John, Armin, and Mikasa, he says, you know, half the scout regiment died trying to save me.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of leads us into a little bit later, who the next like scout leaders are, like Squad Levi, I should say.
Yeah, because Squad Levi got wiped out, taking down the female Titan in season 1.
And John and Armin kind of like come to the conclusion that because Eren didn't realize what he was doing when he was sending the Titans over there, they're like, yeah, we're pretty sure that that that's what happened. And I like the moment because John and Eren have been kind of at each other since the beginning, and I like when John kind of like pities him a little bit, like he's like, hey, I know this is a big responsibility, and I know that like having you're trying to like these deaths are on your conscience or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. um and Eren kind of vows to him that he will master his power over the Titans to exact revenge on them,
Yeah.
on Bertolt and Reiner. Um, then they realize that Erwin and Levi are in the same room, and Connie comes in, and Connie shows them the picture of his mom, and he's like, Titans are humans,
Yeah.
or were humans at one point. And the look of grim on Levi's face, he's like, I was killing humans this whole time.
Yeah. And then
And
we also have that moment where uh sorry, just the thought just left my head.
it's okay. I might get to it.
Yeah.
Um, Ervin starts laughing, like he's smiling and laughing, and Levi's like, "What the hell are you laughing about?" And Ervin's like, "We're one step closer to figuring out the truth of the Titans."
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I got the memory back. So it's the moment when they stop and they say, this most recent attack, there was no hole because the attack came from the residents of Walrose.
Something happened to them
Yeah.
that made them become Titans. We're not sure yet at this point what happened, but we are almost positive it has something to do with the monkey.
Monkey.
Yes, the monkey.
Yeah, it's the end of the season was absolutely wild.
And in that conversation, before we get to the after credits scene, I love when Levi's like, "Yeah, we're one step closer to the truth, but every time we get a step closer, we lose half of the goddamn regiment. I just hope there'll be somebody left when we do figure it out."
Right.
And I love that. And then, of course, in the after credits scene, we see we see a man emerge from
Had to catch himself
uh,
there.
yeah, I was really close. I almost said his name. Ooh, we see a man. Ooh, I'm actually kind of sweating. Whoops, probably would have
Whoops.
been bad.
Gotta put
I guess it
on some
wouldn't
new
have.
deodorant now. That's
Yeah, I guess his first name wouldn't have meant anything, but um, we see a man with glasses kind of emerging from the back of the Beast Titan,
yeah.
and he says, "Not yet."
Yep. And all we can make out from this character, he's shirtless, has glasses, a beard, and long hair. That's all we get.
Yeah, he's very hairy,
Yep.
just like the Beast.
Yep. And quick side note, I do want to go back to season 1 for 1 second here.
Sure.
And talk about when they were doing experiments with Eren to, Hanji wanted to, see what kind of stuff that they could do. The experimentations with Eren as a Titan, and he fails to transform in the well. But then, we get the scene where he reaches for the spoon.
Yeah.
And transforms on accident, but doesn't do a full transformation. It's just like it's like the upper torso, right? Is that what it is? Or no, it's like the skull.
It's pretty much it's just like his arm. He gets a really big arm.
Yep. And we get this moment after where, Eren's in the steam from, from like pulling his arm out and everything, and he sees every single person of Levi's squad is staring at him, blades drawn, ready to attack. But we jump forward to a scene where, they're at the table, and he says, I was reaching for my spoon, and it happened. Like I was an accident. And they go, so you didn't break the rules involuntarily, and that's not on you, that's on us, pretty much. And in solidarity, they all
Start biting
their hands.
Yeah, I love that scene so much. So out of season 1, part 2, and then we'll get to season 2. Is that your favorite scene? Would you say from the second half, or?
It's definitely up there. In large part because that's all done in a flashback in a very important moment. And then when you get to flash forward, we see it's this moment where they're all on horseback running from the female Titan in the forest. And Petra says, trust us. And Eren looks down at her hand and sees the bite mark from before. So it might be my favorite scene.
My favorite scene in season 1, part 2 is Erwin grabbing Eren's arms and being like, "What do you see here?
Oh,
What do you think the enemy is?" That's my favorite scene.
Yep.
For season 2, it's the reveal of Bertolt and Reiner as the warriors. What is your favorite
There
scene?
is a lot from season 2, especially the second half after Warrior. But having the reveal because it's the way they do it where it's all in the background. It's not even the forefront. It's not being 100% focused on, because we see the characters walking away, and then we have Reiner, Bertolt, and Aaron standing there at the end, and there's literally dialogue going on as the characters are walking away, and then Reiner just says it in between their dialogue, saying, "I'm the armored titan, he's the colossal titan." It's so just, it catches you so off
So
guard,
good.
but
So good.
it's the reveal that really sells that moment. And it's probably my absolute favorite, but I do have to give so like a couple of highlights for the rest of it,
Good.
because we've been talking about it, but highlights all come from the last two episodes, which are seeing, all of these huge moments happening with Mikasa finally, having that moment to say what she wants to say to Aaron. Um, then, seeing Aaron have this new ability come to light. And we also didn't bring it up, but in that moment we get a glimpse where Reiner is kind of thinking to himself, and he goes, of all the people to, have that ability, why does it have to be him?
Yes, it could have been anybody. Why the fuck is it this guy? And he
Yeah.
like has that like memory of them, like Aaron being like, "I'm going to kill all of the
Yeah.
Titans." Like, oh, it's so awesome. Um, so before we wrap up, you being new to the series, I would like first season one, part two, and then season two. I would like your overall thoughts and like how you feel like ranking whatever, or not ranking, but like reviewing season one, part two, and then season two.
Right. So season 1 part 2 has a lot of moments I absolutely love, because where we last left off in episode 13, going into it, it didn't get to open up that much. Season 1 part 2 gets to open up a lot more. We get a lot more questions that start coming in, and that's a huge thing, because like now I'm got even further hooked in, because I was like, I need to know why this and this for the end of part 1, and then part 2 I'm like, all right, now I need to know this and this, and it's the list keeps growing, and then we finally get some answers in season 2, which is what, like, it it hooks you even further, because it's like, here's your answer, but we're not going to go into why just yet.
What is your overall rating for season one and your overall rating for season two?
So overall rating, are we doing the entire season of season 1?
Yeah, we'll just do season one
Okay.
as a whole.
Season 1 as a whole.
If you'd
Um
rather do it in parts, you can.
all right, so if I'll do it in parts, and then you do an overall. So part 1, I think last time I gave it a 7.5, and I think I'm gonna stay there, because it is a lot. Like, we do get a lot of entertaining stuff, but it isn't really giving us anything yet. It's all foreshadowing at that point. And then for season 1 part 2, I'm probably gonna have to give that a 9 overall, because we get even more, and it starts elaborating and bringing in more questions. So it's pretty highly rated up there. As a whole, for the entire season 1, it's probably an 8, just kind of, averaging between the two
Middle.
scores I gave. Yeah. And then for season 2, overall thoughts was getting more answers, but also more questions is a large part of this season. But we also got a lot more character time, where, there wasn't as much action going on. We got some moments to breathe, and then the moments where we did have action were huge moments. So overall for season 2, it's probably a 9 as well, maybe a 9.5.
For me, I'll do it in three parts as well. Season one, part one, I would give it I would give it an 8. Just because even with what I know, going back and seeing it, I'm still like greatly entertained by it. And I really like, especially seeing it a second time, well, third time now, I get to, experience more of the foreshadowing aspects of it. Season one, part two, I would give it an 8.5, I'd say. I really, really, really like the second half. Um, the intro I'm not too crazy on. I really love the outro for it. The first intro and first outro for the first part. I love them both.
Yeah.
But season 1, part 2, the female Titan arc and everything is so good. Um, I don't know how big of like a fan I was of there's just a couple parts in season 1, part 2 that just slow down just a little bit, like um, especially with the female Titan, the forest. But season 2 for me is overall a 9.5. Season 2 is one of my favorite arcs in the whole series. I love the intro.
It's the
I
best intro
love the
we've
outro.
gotten so far.
Yeah,
I don't have enough to give you a rating on the other ones just yet, but
yeah, it's awesome. It has my favorite episode of the series in there. Might have to bump it up to a 10 just because of Warrior. But I don't know. There's a couple sections later that don't have my favorite episode, but still like the amount of like S tier episodes like elevated heavily.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling safe to give season 2 a 9.5. It is such a good season.
Yeah, it is very good. Just overall, I mean, even we finished season 1 um the same, like we finished season 1 and then started season 2 that same night, and we start that first episode and we're both just like, oh my god, the animation, because we got a
Oh yeah.
4-year gap between seasons.
Yeah, the animation gets a massive facelift, and it's the first of two massive facelifts that we get in the series. I mean, it is awesome. Did I pin something? That was my bad.
You pinned a comment from earlier, but it's fine.
It's fine. That's my bad. I was trying to respond to the new chatter.
Yeah,
And
you're good.
but yeah, overall, we also full disclosure, we've already started season 3. We started it the night we finished season
Yeah.
2.
It's hard to stop. Where we are right now, the story, it's opening up a lot, and we're getting more answers than ever right now. So it's very hard to control yourself.
And we're also getting very differing arcs too, because the one that starts off in season 3 is vastly different from the arc in season 1. Well, the arcs in season 1, it's vastly different than the arcs in season 2, and the season 2 arc is vastly different than the season 1 arcs.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Every arc is very different than the last.
Yep. I 100% agree with that. Especially like, so I don't want to, no spoilers, of course, but going off of the atmosphere that we've gotten from this season, it is very much like a suspense, like thriller kind of thing going on.
Yeah, very very political.
Yeah.
I would say very political.
Also, up to this point right now in the second episode of season 3, we have gotten one of the best animated scenes I've seen in anything ever, maybe. So
In season 3,
yeah.
you'll have to tell me after the
Yeah.
podcast what scene you're talking about.
Okay.
'Cause I'm genuinely curious. I have an idea, but
Yeah. I think you know what it is, but you know, no spoilers until the next one. So
yeah. For our next podcast Wednesday night, we're going to be doing some gaming tier lists for you guys. We have a few set up that we're gonna do. We hope we have some active chatters to tell us we're wrong. Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully, because I guarantee you there's gonna be some hot takes on here, even ones that we disagree with each other on. So
Yeah, for sure. And then after that, we have our next Attack on Titan episode. We're not sure yet. Most likely, it'll cover all of season 3, but there's a chance it'll be just part of it. We're not 100% sure yet.
at the rate that we're going, we'll probably be watching season 3 and discussing all of it. Because the past couple of nights, it's been, hey Mike, you want to watch AOT? And
yeah,
then we watched like 10 episodes.
Yeah. We watching it tonight?
Probably, maybe for a little bit.
All right. Well, I think that that about wraps it up. Do you wanna do the outro? I did the intro.
Sure thing. All right. So if you haven't already, join the Discord. We post whenever we're going live on there. I always make the announcement beforehand. Try and let you know what the episode's going to be. Remember to follow me on Twitter, because I also post on there whenever I'm going live with one, my streams, and two, the podcast as well. That's pretty much the large part of it. And as far as that goes, that's all we've pretty much got for you. Stick around for Wednesday's episode. And if you haven't already, remember that this is for the audio only listeners or the YouTube watchers. We stream these live on twitch.tv/convictedtoast. It's on staggered Wednesdays and Sundays. So just tune in whenever you want on there. And if you haven't already, again, join the Discord. That's where where the schedule's at. So, but beyond that, that's all we got for you. You all have a wonderful night. Mr. Rager, go ahead and...
Yep. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to our AOT episode.
All right. And thank you to all the chatters that chatted with us tonight. You all have a fantastic evening.
All the lurkers as well. Thank you to all the lurkers.
All the lurkers. All right. Take care, everyone.